no interest in having me be a part of the Progressive Liberal Party. And I would be a fool to come back in this place and say that I'm a member of the PLP after how I was treated in here tonight.
A backbencher begs to be released, but eventually releases himself.
Fort Charlotte MP Dr. Andre Rollins first got the House in an uproar after he tried to speak right before the budget debate was about to wrap up. That back and forth with the government, Rollins and the Speaker of the House shut down the House for what was supposed to be 5 minutes, but ended up being almost half an hour and caused the Speaker to be increasingly uncomfortable. But that was just the beginning of the clash on the carpet. Here's C.S. Adley.
If the member was a member of the minority, then I may have some consideration for that. But he's a part of this caucus.
Based on what the member for Cat Island, Rumpkins, and Salvador has just said, that I must be a member of the minority in order to be given the right to speak in here today, I would ask them to release me from the Progressive Liberal Party right now, and I will speak. Release me right now. Release me right now.
And with the drama unfolding in Parliament and opposition members criticizing government for the move, Prime Minister the Right Honourable Perry Christie reminded parliamentarians that the step taken was nothing new.
On any number of occasions, the members of this House who were in a previous and prior term would have had the motion put by the governing party, and there are at least 3 members on that side who were a party to the motion being put in similar circumstances at the budget debate.
2011.
Now, Mr. Speaker, that's the first point, that the precedence of this House over generations of House of Assembly has clearly allowed that rule to be invoked. And when the committee was appointed to review the rules of the House, the committee saw that as an important provision to maintain.
Now, during debates, House leaders for both parties make up the schedule of speakers, giving members an opportunity to contribute. That was done. However, we understand that the Fort Charlotte MP was not present during the debate, and that the courtesy was afforded to him as well as the leader of the opposition.
I had invited the leader of government business to communicate with the leader of the opposition and to communicate with the member of Parliament for Fort Charlotte, to tell both of them that the government's business in the House must proceed. Yes. And that the leader of the opposition confirmed he would be available this morning, and he was. The government leader of government business in the House showed me the email or communication he sent to the Member of Parliament for Fort Charlotte, telling the Member of Parliament for Fort Charlotte he would be the second speaker in the debate. A government, Mr. Speaker, must have the privilege of being able to govern and run the affairs of the House of Assembly.
Hearing what the Prime Minister and the Deputy Prime Minister said about the rules of Parliament, the Speaker had this to say.
Yes, I am constrained by the rules. However, my heart is to the discretion that if I do not allow the member, it may be an abuse.
In light of that, Prime Minister Christie said the rules ought to be followed.
Now, with respect to the Speaker, oftentimes, Mr. Speaker, when you sit in the chair with a rule and you have a broad perspective of democracy and the right to speak, you do not insinuate yourself into the life of the member for Fort Charlotte, who decided that he was going to speak notwithstanding what the government said when he wanted to speak. The affairs of this Parliament cannot be run that way. No. Cannot be run that way, Mr. Speaker. And a government cannot be hostage to the will and circumstance of any member to do as he sees fit in this Parliament.
C.S. Scatterly, ZNS Network News.
Following the uproar in the House of Assembly, House Speaker Dr. Kendall Major still allowed the Fort Charlotte Member of Parliament to speak. Our Jared Higgs tells us that he ended it by parting ways with the PLP.
I resign as a member of the Progressive Liberal Party, Mr. Speaker.
That's Fort Charlotte MP Dr. Andre Rollins resigning from the Progressive Liberal Party at the close of his budget contribution Wednesday evening. It all started when House Speaker Dr. Kendall Major ruled against a motion for closure of debate put forth by Deputy Prime Minister the Honourable Philip Brave Davis.
So a motion was moved and it was seconded. But however, the chair's final decision is to not allow that motion to be put based on these rules.
Speaking to reporters outside the House of Assembly, Rollins insisted that he did not intend to resign from the party at the beginning of the debate. However, he stated candidly that he would be foolish to remain where he wasn't wanted.
I have a tremendous amount of respect still for a lot of people in the Progressive Liberal Party, a lot of their supporters. I just don't like what I see happening right now as far as the leadership and its efforts to undermine democracy.
The Fort Charlotte MP had a tumultuous journey as a member of the Progressive Liberal Party. Last summer, he resigned as party whip, citing concerns with the proposed gender equality bills. Shortly after that, he was fired from his job as chairman of the gaming board over comments made in the House of Assembly regarding the leadership of the Progressive Liberal Party. Sentiments that he echoed last night during his contribution and outside the House of Assembly. The former PLP declared himself an independent when asked whether he considers himself a member of the opposition.
I consider myself an independent member. The accusation was made tonight that I was in negotiations with the Free National Movement. There's absolutely no truth to that.
FNM MP Hubert Chipman also says that he is unaware of any move to court Rollins over to the Free National Movement, but he did state that he was not surprised by the resignation. On the other hand, PLP MP Leslie Miller expressed astonishment at not only Andre Rollins, but Marco City MP Greg Moss, who parted ways with the party last week.
I'm sort of taken aback at the speed at which these things are taking place. I figured he was going to leave, but I certainly didn't expect Greg Moss to do what he did last week.
Among Rollins' main concerns is being able to speak his mind freely, something he says he's willing to pay the ultimate political price for.
I don't have to be in politics. If God doesn't have it for me to be in politics, I won't be in politics, and I'll be content with that.
Rollins also thanked House Speaker Dr. Kendall Major for what he described as a demonstration of maturity that will bode well for the nation. Jared Higgs, ZNS Network News.